get started? All right, let's see who's online. All right, everyone. So if you're just getting here right now, I need you to please come on Discord and join the Home Lab Live. The Home Lab Live session, that's where we're going to be. That's where we're going to be sharing the screen from. So that way you can follow along as I do other demonstration of helping you developing this home lab. All right, so we have a few people here who have joined from a Discord server, and we also have some people who have joined us from YouTube Live and some of these other places that we're streaming this live from. Again, if you're just getting here, please join me on Discord. Specifically, go to the Home Lab Live session. That's where all the action is taking place. Also, I would like to do a quickly kind of a demo of what we're using as far as the Discord goes. So when you go to our Discord, you'll be able to see kind of a few different channels that we've created and different categories that we've created. Now, the one that you really want to be part of is the Cyber Home Lab, which is what we're doing today. So you can click on getting started, and here you will see some of the things that I want you to download, right? Some of the things that we're going to be using today. Also, the Home Lab Cyber Home Lab, you'll find the same information here as well. Now, we also have a little kind of a resource section. This is where I want you to be sharing the resources. I'm going to be sharing some resources here as well. And if you just want to ask a question or a comment or anything that might help some of the people within our community, I really want you to just put that in a live chat live here. Okay. I have Dennis. I have a few people that are helping with the live, and they're gonna go in and they're gonna answer your questions. And then some of the questions, if they are directly to me, they're gonna make sure that I see those questions and make sure that I answer those questions for you. All right, so again, welcome everyone. We are about to start with the home lab. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get started here. All right, so first thing first. Now, when it comes to building a home lab, this is one of those questions, not really a question, it's one of those things that a lot of people are struggling with in cybersecurity, right? So let's say that you're learning about Security Plus, right? You're about to take your exam, or maybe you have taken the exam and perhaps you've passed your exam. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean you have the hands-on experience that the employer is looking for? For a lot of people, the answer is no. Right? I know when I was taking my Security Plus exam, the answer was obviously no, even after passing the exam. So one of the things that we're trying to do here at cybercraft is to really have these kind of lab sessions where we're going to be helping people building their home lab. And today is the first session of that, and we're hoping to continually doing this as we go, and also as people within the community get more interested into the home lab itself. So first thing that you need to do, again, if you're following along, I would like you to go in Discord. That way you see everything that that I'm talking about. Otherwise, if you're watching on YouTube, get your computer ready because we're about to get started here. All right, so first thing I want you to do when you're about building a home lab is to check to see if your system, if your computer is capable of doing that. Okay, does it have enough RAM? Or does it have enough CPU? Does it support virtualization? Something that I'm going to talk about in a minute here. Well, if it does support all of that, then you probably are good to go. And to be fair, a lot of the computers that people use these days, they do support all of that. So what you can do, you can right click on your Windows logo if you are using a Windows machine. Now, if you're using a Mac, it's probably going to be a little bit different. But again, if you need some help, again, just jump into the Discord server and I will help you. It doesn't matter what system that you're using, I will definitely help you out. All right, so if you are following along, all right, so right click on the Windows logo here, and then click on Systems. Right, again, we are checking to see if your system meets the minimum requirements. Because if you see some of the things that we posted in the home lab, it says that your computer must have at least 8 gigabytes of RAM, right? It got to be a dual core CPUs and all that good stuff. And again, some people, this might be kind of brand new information to them, and that's why we exist here at Cybercraft, right? Just help training you, giving you all the knowledge that you need, so you can, successfully land a job in the world of cybersecurity. All right, so here, once you right-click on your Windows logo and then go to System, it's going to take you to a page that tells you about this particular window, right? And what this page really is showing you, it's showing you the kind of the specifications of your machine. Specifically with mine here, you can see that I have a 16 gigabytes of RAM, right? That's enough. We recommend 8 or more. So if you have 16 gigabytes of RAM, that's enough. We're not going to be doing anything crazy with the home lab. This lab is designed for people that are noobs into the cybersecurity, right? The lab itself is going to be for the people that are taking their Security Plus, or people that are planning on taking that Security Plus. So 16 gigabytes of RAM, and as you can see, my CPU, my central processing unit here, I have i7, and it's 2.6 gigahertz. That's enough, right? I can dedicate a few CPUs here and there and be okay, right? Some other things that's really important as we're building a home lab is the system types. Right? Just make sure that your system is a 64-bit. Right? We have a 32-bit and a 64-bit. So I just want you to make sure that the architecture of your system is a 64-bit. Right? That's going to help a lot because majority of the programs and software we're going to be running is 64-bit. Now, there's another thing that I want you to double check. Right? There's another thing that I really want you to double check before we get started, and that is your virtualization turned on? And the way you go by checking that, it's again right click on your start menu on your Windows machine if you're following along. So right click on your Windows menu and Windows logo really. Then you click on run. Right? Once you click on run, I want you to type in MS-info32. Right? MS-info32, it's going to give us a little bit more data than what we were looking at, right? A little bit of information as far as the specification goes. So if you hit enter, it's going to take you to the system information, and these right here give us a little bit more, right? And what you need, or what we're looking for here, is to just double check to see if virtualization is turned on. And specifically with mine, you can see that the BIOS is a UEFI, and you can see that Hyper-V is definitely turned on, right? Yes, that's perfect. So this is really important, right? Because if this is not turned on, then nothing that we're going to do today is going to work, right? We're looking at installing a hypervisor, specifically VirtualBox. I'm going to talk about that more about that in a minute. Then we're looking at installing things such as Kali Linux, right? Windows machines, and so on and so forth. So these technology here have to be turned on. Now, if it's not turned on for some reason and you're following along, I want you to get to the Discord server so we can help you, because it requires you to shut down your system in some instances. So, you shut down your machine, you press F12 or F8, it depends on the system that you have. Then you're going to go to your BIOS or UEFI, you're going to turn that on, and then off you go. Right? I think there's a way in Windows 10 to turn that on without shutting down the system. But again, if you need help with that, please reach out to Discord, and I and Dennis and all the other peer people will help you out. All right, so now that we finished with that, the first thing we need to do is download VirtualBox, right? So like I said, we're gonna need a hypervisor, right? We are building a home lab that's not going to require you to purchase different devices, right? We're just gonna use the computer that you already have, and then we're just gonna install a tool that we normally call a hypervisor, right? And what that will do, right? What that will do, it's going to allow you to install operating systems on top of your existing operating system. Now, if you are studying for Security Plus, we call those guest hosts, right? Which basically means you have a host machine, which in my case it's a Windows machine, and then you have your guest operating systems running on top of your host operating system. Hopefully I haven't confused you yet, but there we are. So we're gonna need a VirtualBox, right? There's a couple of them out there that we can use, but in this case, I'm just gonna use a VirtualBox. So we're gonna go to Google and download and install VirtualBox. That's the first step. So VirtualBox. All right, and if you're following along, please let me know so I can go a little bit slow. All right. I'm keeping an eye on the chat here, make sure that I'm not missing anything. All right, so we go to virtualbox.org. Right, you can go there from Google. You can just look it up, virtualbox.org. And once you get here, click on the download. It's going to be on the left-hand side, right? And once you're here, I want you to click on Windows Host, right? So Windows Host, because my computer is a Windows machine, right? But if you're running a Mac machine or a Linux distributions of some sort, just click on one of these and you're going to be good to go. All right, a Windows machine, it's going to download the latest version of VirtualBox. And once finished downloading this, I'm going to have to double click on it, right? Remember guys, we are installing the hypervisor. I want you to do this from scratch. Right, I've seen different trainings that that teaches you stuff, and then they just kind of skip to the point where they show you how to do things, or they show you, okay, if you open up a VirtualBox, this is what you're going to do. Now I want you to go from scratch. Right, start by installing VirtualBox first. All right, so VirtualBox, double click next. It's really straightforward. Next again. Right, make sure these are all selected. Next, hit yes, install, and then boom, off you go, right? So we're gonna give it a minute so you can finish the whole installation. All right, it's asking me, the UAC from Microsoft is, hey, are you sure you want a VirtualBox to make some changes? So I'm gonna say yes. Okay, I'm gonna say yes. All right, and gonna just wait a little bit for VirtualBox to finish installing. I click finish, and then here we are. Right, it should open up automatically since that was one of the things that was selected. But if it didn't for some reason, just go to your start menu one more time and then just search for it. So if you type in VirtualBox, it's gonna come up, or so you can just search for Oracle and it will come up. All right, now this is VirtualBox. For those who have never seen VirtualBox, this is how it looks like. We're gonna make this full screen. That way we know what we are working with. Now that we have VirtualBox, the first thing I want us to do is to create what we normally call a virtual switch, right? This is the location where we're gonna connect everything from. Right? It's just like having a physical environment where you have a switch and then you have all these computers connected to it. Now it's the same case here. So we're just gonna click on preferences, right? Within VirtualBox, click on preferences, and then go to the network tab, right? One of the settings here, network, and here, that one created already. But when you click on network, it's gonna look like this, right? And what I want you to do, just click on that plus button right here, that little plus icon. When you click on that, it's just gonna create something that they normally call network. Right, I want you to double click on that. Right, when you double click on that, it's gonna bring up this little kind of a details page where we're able to edit, right, to make changes to this. So this, since we're creating a virtual switch, I want you to call it switch SW01. Right, let's just give it a name, right, SW01, switch 1. And as far as the IP addresses goes, we're just gonna keep the 10 network, but in this case, I want us to make this 10.10.10.0, right, /24 network, right? Again, guys, one of the things that we normally tell people is that before you can jump into security, you have to know networking, right? So if I just type in this number right here and now you're confused, you're like, I don't know what /24 means, you probably need to brush up your network knowledge, okay? Also, we can help you with that within cybercraft as well. All right, so once you finish typing, that number in, that IP address, right, that network IP address, click on yes. We're gonna keep DSCP selected. Just click on yes, and that's going to be changed. Just click on OK one more time, and we are good to go, right? So that's it from VirtualBox. That's all I want you to do for now. So the second thing we need to do is to download everything we're gonna use, right? So the first thing we're gonna download is Kali Linux. So what I want you to do is just go to Google again. But if you are in Discord, there is kind of a links there somewhere where you'll be able to click on those links. So you can go to Google and just search for Kali Linux, right? And you can type in downloads on that. And this is gonna take you to the Kali Linux kind of a download page. Now, I don't want you to download the ISO file, right? It's going to take you here. I want you to download what we normally call an OVA file, right? And then you can only download that by scrolling down to where it says Kali Linux virtual machines, then click on Offensive Security VM downloads page, right? That's going to take you to the Offensive Security website. These guys are the creator of Kali, so they're awesome, right? So once you're here, I want you to click on VirtualBox images. So the first one that's displayed is a VMware. We're not using VMware, right? We're using VirtualBox. So I want you to click on this. I've had students in the past where this wasn't working because they downloaded the wrong OVA file. So I want you to click on VirtualBox and downloaded this 64-bit. This is why we were looking at the system settings earlier, just so we know what to download. Right, click on that. It's gonna download, right? And I already have all these files downloaded because it's gonna take a minute, so I'm not gonna wait for it to finish. But I just wanna make sure that I show you where to download these files from. And Dennis and everybody who's helping, maybe we can put those kind of links into the chat sections where people will be able to download those as well. All right, another thing we need to download is Metasploitable, right? So Metasploitable, it's a vulnerable machine that was created intentionally, right? So Metasploitable, right? It's a vulnerable machine that was created intentionally for people like you or cybersecurity people to learn some skills, right? So we can map with the Metasploitable and then see the open ports and all that good stuff. Again, if I'm talking way over your head, you probably I need to join the Discord so we can talk more about that. All right, so we want to download the Metasploitable from SourceForge, right? SourceForge. Click on SourceForge link. That's the one I want you to download, right? Metasploitable version 2. I think 3 is out, but we don't want to mess with that one. We want to download version 2 right now. Again, if you're in Discord, there's a link there for you to download automatically, right? All right, so click on download. It's gonna download after finishing doing this thing. Now that's downloading, let's go back to Google. The next thing we need to download is a Windows 10 OVA file, right? So I'm gonna do Windows 10, download OVA files, maybe download OVA. And that very first link, it's gonna take us to the page where we should be able to download the OVA file that we're looking for, the virtual machine file. Right, so here they have quite a few, and what we care about is the VirtualBox. There you go, so click on that, it's gonna download. I'm sure this is gonna take a minute, so download that. Then the last thing we need to download is Windows Server 2019. Again, let me kind of a recap of everything that we're downloading. So we have Kali Linux, we have a Metasploitable. So we're gonna use Kali Linux for attacking systems. Right? Today we're just gonna set all these things up. So Kali Linux for attacking systems. Metasploitable is the vulnerable machine that we want to attack, right? Well, that we want to do all kind of cool stuff with. Windows 10 is here to teach you a lot of the Windows related stuff. All right, so if we go back to Google, just download Windows Server 2019, right? This one, it's not going to be an OVA file. This is going to be an ISO file, right? ISO file. And the reason why this is an ISO file, it's because it's a server, right? Microsoft didn't pull out an OVA file for it. Now, you probably have heard me saying OVA and ISO file, and like OVA over and over again. Like, okay, what the hell does that mean? An OVA file, it's kind of it's an operating system that is packaged, ready to go. You don't have to go through the installation process to get it up and running. And I'm gonna show you that in a minute once we get this going. But for now, Windows Server, we pick the ISO, right? We don't have an OVA file for this. And then once we download an ISO file, that means we're gonna have to install the server from scratch, which is cool, by the way. Like, everybody needs to learn how to do just that. So we're gonna click on next, right? And Microsoft really wanna keep track of who's downloading what. So I'm gonna give them the name, the company name. All right, I mean, you can lie about this stuff. They don't care. Right? So work phone number, I'm gonna just put something down there. No, that was email. So let's say simple at cybercraft.com. Now, as far as work phone number, just put something down there. Like I said, they really don't care. You can just get US. All right, United States. And you hit continue. Just like that. Okay. Email is invalid. Absolutely. They checked that one. Okay. All right. So I'm going to give him my email. All right. Let's do this. All right. So you just give him the email. There you go. Now this is my email. Just in case you guys want to email me something. All right. There you go. And you hit next. And they ask you to pick the language. Right? Here it's going to be English. You click on download, then off you go. Now it's downloading. Okay, this is it. This is everything that you need to download for now. Right? Now everything is downloading. Like I said, I'm not gonna wait. I'm sorry if you're following along. You'll get back with me later. I'm sure this is also being recorded and it's going to be shared on YouTube and all these other platforms that we use. All right, so the next thing I want you to do, guys, is go to your C drive. If you're using Windows machine, go to your C drive and create a folder and just call it Home Lab. If you can just right click anywhere, go to new, click on folder, and just name it Home Lab. All right, I just want to keep all these things organized, and that this is one way of doing just that. All right, I'm just gonna double click on that. I also want you to create another folder and just name it ISO files or OVA files. It really doesn't matter. But what I want you to do, once these are finished downloading, because right now they have been downloaded into the downloads folder. If I go to the downloads folder, I can see all the downloads here. But what I want you to do is open up two different File Explorer, Windows Explorer, and then just drag those downloads into your ISO file, right? Similar to what I have here. That way we have everything organized, neat, and nobody's confused with anything. All right, so as you can see, I've already had these downloaded. I have my Kali, I have my Server 2019, I have my Windows 7, and I also have my Metasploitable 2 already. Now, one other thing I really want to show you guys is that these files are zipped files when you downloaded them. So within Windows 10, you can automatically unzip these files by right-clicking on it and click on Extract All. Right? I want you to do that. I want you to do that once you are here. Okay, I want you to do that once you're here. That way the files can be extracted from here, okay? There is that. All right, so now let's say that you've downloaded everything, you've extracted everything, right? And you're good to go. This is where VirtualBox comes in. So the next thing we need to do is installing what we need, okay? So again, remember guys, first step, download the VirtualBox, install VirtualBox. Second step, download all the files that you need. In our case, with our home lab, we have 19, we have Windows 7, and then we have Metasploit. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to the next step of installing each one of these. So I'm going to open up VirtualBox one more time, right? And I can make this full screen. So like I said earlier, the beauty of having an OVA file, you don't have to install the operating system from scratch. In fact, it makes... So what we're gonna do here, we're just gonna click on import. I'm gonna click on import, and there's kind of the import page that comes up. I want you to click on that little folder that's on the right hand side. You click on that little folder, it's going to take you to the to your file explorer. All right, let's see here. So you can see my screen. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, what? All right, hold on a minute. Let's see. I'm sharing my screen. All right, Dennis, can you confirm if you can see my screen now? All right. Oops. Stop, we're having a little technical difficulty here. All right, let me stop sharing and share again. Okay, share screens. All right, screen is shared. All right. All right, can you see my screen now? Oops. All right, hold on a minute. All right, trying to troubleshoot here, see what's going on with Discord. All right, Dennis, can you confirm if you can see my screen okay? much. Okay. All right, great. Let's get going. Seems like we're good to go. All right, perfect. So guys, I apologize for that little technical difficulties. Again, kind of to recap on some of the things that we were talking about here, just so that everybody, we are on the same page. We just downloaded Kali Linux. Again, all the links are within our Discord, and I know that Dennis is keeping an eye on those. So links are on Discord. Just go ahead and download it, Kali Linux. Download Windows Server 2019. Download Windows 7 and Metasploitable. Okay, I'm just glad everybody can see my screen okay now, because that's really good to know. All right, so again, make a home folder in your C drive, call that folder Home Lab, and then just drag everything in here after creating another subfolder known as ISO, or you can call it whatever you want. All right, so now to phase 2, which is the most important part, right? So the first part, we were just downloading stuff, but now it's time for us to actually install the operating system. So the beauty of an OVA file, right? The beauty of having an OVA file, we can just import in that file. We don't have to go into the whole process of installing it. We can just import the file in. So in VirtualBox, if you are using Windows 10, click on Tools, then click on Import. Right, it's one of the icon here. You click on Import, and there's another page that comes up that asks you, hey, what do you want to import? What's the location of whatever you want to import? So you click on that little folder here, and it's gonna bring up your File Explorer. And then here I want you to navigate into the C drive. So click on this PC, click on Windows 7, then go to your home lab that you have created, right? And then go to the ISO file, again, if you've named your entire section just like me here. And then the first thing we're gonna have to import in is Kali Linux, right? Click on Kali Linux, click on Open, right? And then click on Next, and then Import. Click on Agreed, and then off you go. We're just gonna give it a minute, to make sure that everything is working okay. Now, as I'm waiting for Kali to finish importing, let me ask, hey Dennis, are we good with the share and everything else? It seems like we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
All right, perfect. Alrighty, so let's give it a minute. We're gonna import this. This is Kali Linux. Now, once finished importing, which is what just happened right now, the next thing we need to do is to make sure that the settings is the way we want them to be. So right-click on Kali, right? Right-click on the VM we just imported, and then click on Settings. Right, when you click on Settings, it's gonna take you to that little settings of Kali Linux. And in here, we just want to change a few things. First of all, we're going to change the name. So the name is too long. We just want to delete that and just keep Kali. All right, that's good. And the next thing we want to change is the system. Now, as far as the system goes, they have given this machine 2 GB, which is that much megabyte. 2 GB of RAM, that's good. the processor here, we want it to be 2, and that's pre-selected already, so that's good. The last thing we want to do here is connect it to the right network. So if you remember earlier, within the VirtualBox, we created a local, kind of a local switch, kind of a virtual switch, if you will. So we want to connect our Kali Linux to that switch. And the way we go by doing that is by clicking on network, go to the adapter one, and then within the attached to, here NAT is selected. We want to change that to NAT network, right? If we change that to NAT network, we can see that under the name, the switch we created earlier comes up, right? The virtual switch. So SW01 comes up, and we're good to go there. Just click OK after that. And then let's go ahead and import a few more things, right? Let's go ahead and import our Windows machines and the Metasploitable. So Windows machine, we're gonna go back to our C drive, right? Go back to the home lab, go back to the ISO file, and I apologize if I'm going a little bit fast. Again, this has been recorded. I'm gonna go to the Windows 7. Now then click on the WinDev, right? The Windows 7 that we downloaded. Click OK. Right, click Next, Import, and off we go. Right, this is gonna take a minute, but once it's finished, we're gonna have a Windows 7 machine good to go. Again, the beauty of importing these files this way, right? The beauty of importing these files this way is that you don't have to reinstall the operating system from scratch, right? And I will show you what I mean once we get to the server, once we get into the installing section of the server, because we're gonna install the server from scratch. I want you to see the whole process. So you'll see the difference between what we're doing right now and and installing the whole thing from scratch. But this is by far the easiest way that you can get up an operating system up and running, especially if you have a computer that's a bit more fast. All right, so let's wait a minute and make sure that this comes up. Again, if you have any questions, if you have any quick questions within our YouTube channel, or if you have any questions, Craft is monitoring the chat, so he'll be able to answer any of the questions that you have. And if there's anything that's related to what we're doing right now, I will answer those. Okay. All right, let's give it a minute. This is Windows 10 importing. All right, Windows 10 is taking a little bit longer than expected. Another kind of a pro tip that you guys can take away with here is that when you're doing something such as what we're doing right now, which it requires your computer to be really, really good, you can close down any other applications that you're not using. And the best way to do that, just go to your task manager. If you right click on your Windows logo and just go to Task Manager. Or you can just search for Task Manager. And Task Manager is going to show you all the open programs. So you can close some of the ones that you don't want. Then I'm not using Zoom, so I can end that one. Right? Or anything else that I'm not using, I can just end it there. And that's going to help kind of speed up your installation. Alrighty, taking a minute. All right, come on. All right, so as I'm waiting on this, I know that earlier people were saying that they weren't seeing the screen. So I'm gonna go back to Google and just show you a few things here, right? Some of the things that we downloaded. So just in case you catch this live or anything like that, or you didn't see the first portion, I wanna make sure that you got everything that we need. So the first thing that we downloaded was Kali Linux. So just go to Kali Linux, right? Kali Linux. And here you'll be able to download the OVA file, right? You go to the OVA file here and just scroll down where you see Kali Linux VirtualBox image. You click on that, then download the 64-bit version. All right, so 64-bit is what we downloaded. That's for Kali. And again, for the people that are really, more advanced in security, you can just check the hash. Offensive security, it's kind enough to give us the hash for the thing that we're downloading. So you can check the hash, make sure that this file here has not been tampered with. Right? If you're like, what do you exactly mean? Again, we have training for all that good stuff where we can help you to look at stuff like that. So that's the first thing that we downloaded, right? Kali Linux. The next thing that we downloaded, again, I'm waiting for my Windows to finish here. The next thing we downloaded was Metasploitable. Right, so the next thing we downloaded was Metasploitable 2. And that's coming from SourceForge. You click on the link on Google, then you just download the Metasploitable there. Again, all the links are included into the the links are included into the Discord server. The third thing we downloaded was Windows 7. So if you search for Windows 10, I go Windows 10 and go to downloads. All right, this will take you to the download. All right, hold on. Let me search for Windows 10. Again, I have the links perfect fine in the Discord server. Windows 10 download OVA files. There you go. I want to make sure I take you to the developer page. That's where you want to get your OVA files from. Again, the links it's shared. Okay, and then we clicked on VirtualBox. All right, click on VirtualBox. Good to go with Windows 10. And the last thing we downloaded, this one wasn't an OVA file. It was an ISO file. The last thing we downloaded was Windows Server 2019 ISO file. All right, just Google that or ISO downloads. Again, the links are included. And this one works. Hopefully this one works. Yeah, there you go. That works just fine. All right, so once you're here, click on ISO and then off you go. You click on next. You're gonna have to fill out this little form. Once you finish, you click on next, you pick the language, and then you're good to go. And so this is how we downloaded everything that we're using right now. So if you missed that part, I want you to go back and downloading those, and then you can follow along maybe after, watching the recording later or anything like that. You can follow along later. But for now, just the biggest takeaway here, guys, is just make sure you have everything downloaded. Okay, make sure you have everything downloaded. Now, as far as installing it, you can follow along the video, or you can ask those questions in the chat, Discord, and then we will help you. All right, back to VirtualBox. All right, back to VirtualBox, where everything began. So here we have Kali, and we have Windows 10 ready. So we're gonna go ahead and customize Windows 10 as well. So we will click on settings, or you can right click on settings again, right? This will take you to the same location, to the settings page of the Windows 10. Let's just name this Windows 10. We don't want to be confused with that Microsoft name. Windows 10 as far as the name goes, and we want to check the system settings as well. It got 4 gigabytes, that's perfect. We're gonna push this to 2 core. Right, as far as CPU goes, and we're gonna go to the network section again. We're gonna change this to go to the network, and then we are on the SAM switch again, right? very, very important. We want these machines and anything else that are connected to our home lab, we want them to communicate to each other. We want them to talk. So for them to talk, they have to be connected on the same switch, right? And the virtual switch that we created is switch 1, right? SW01. So we want to make sure they're all connected on the same switch. Then I click on that, then I click on OK. Right? The next thing we need to bring on, it's going to be the Windows Server, right? Windows Server is going to be the next thing that we bring on. So with Windows Server, it's a little bit different. We're not just gonna import it. We're gonna install it from scratch, right? Which is good because you wanna see how that's done as well. So if you click on back on tools, then you click on new, right? Click on tools, click on a new. It's gonna bring up this create virtual machine window. And this is how you go by doing it, installing anything on a VirtualBox from scratch. So here we're gonna give it a name, right? This is a Windows Server 2019. I just like to call it DC1, right? DC1 for Domain Controller 1. Again, that's because the server we're installing, we're gonna install Active Directory, DNS and some other cool technologies that we're gonna be using in a bit here. All right, so DC1. Now, the next thing we want to do is change the operating system. Here, Windows 7 is pre-selected. When I click on the version here, then scroll down until where we can see Windows 2019 64-bit, right? We'll click on that, click on next, right? And right now, they're telling us, hey, you just want to use 4 gigabytes, right? 4 gigabytes. And the answer is that we probably not, right? That's why we recommend that your system have at least 8 or 64 or less, or 32 or 16 gigabytes of RAM. Is this kind of stuff, right? So I want to push this up to 8 gig because I have 16. And I know this one is using 2, and this one just can take 8. And for the most part, I just do this when I'm installing it, right? Because I wanted this to, finish fast. But as far as using it, we can get away with it just 2 gigabytes of RAM or just 4. For the most part, 4 is good. All right, 8, and I click next. Everything else here, as far as hard disk, just keep clicking next and click on create. All right, you're gonna go next. I tell you, hey, this is going to be dynamic. Yes, click next. Are you willing to use 50 gigabytes? Click yes, create, and then here we are. Right? So this is DC1 or DC1 created here right now. So before we go on with anything, we want to make sure this is connected to the same switch. Remember guys, they have to be connected to the same switch or they're not gonna talk. So we're gonna right click on settings, then you go to the network section again, go to the net, right, attached to, go to the net section, then you click on net network, right? It's going to be selected. We might want to go to the system and change the process. So go to I like just to keep it 4, but again it depends on how strong your computer is. All right, click OK, and then here we're good to go. All right. So the last thing we want to do, the last thing we want to install is your Metasploitable. Now to install Metasploitable, it's a bit interesting, right? Because we can import that in, or we can go to the files itself and then double click on what they have there. Okay, so what we can do, and let's do it the normal way. Let's do it the normal way. So here from tools again, click on new, and then just call this Metasploitable. Right, just call it Metasploitable, and this is going to be a Linux version. Okay, it's going to be a Linux version. So go ahead and click as far as type of the operating system. Click on that, then click on Linux. Right, and as far as the version goes, just click on Ubuntu 64-bit. So if you click on the version, that little button there, click on version, and then just check for Ubuntu 64-bit. That's what we want. Okay, so once you finish with that, click on next. All right, it looks like that has been created already. So it's just Metasploitable 2. All right, click on next. And as far as everything else, you can leave the default. Metasploitable is not really power hungry like the other things that we have set it up. So just keep clicking next, really. Click next, create next, next, create, and here we are, right? Metasploitable here. All right, so here's the beauty of these two. First of all, DC1 doesn't have an operating system yet. Okay, it doesn't have an operating system. Oh, before I dive deep into that, let's first connect the Metasploitable on the SAM switch. Remember, you have to do that every time you're doing this. So right click on it, go to the network section, click on the network, and then connect it to that switch right there. Okay, and that's all you have to do. You don't have to change anything else here, right? All right, so now that this is good to go, let's start with the Metasploitable. So the first thing we need to do, just double click. All right, I'm looking at this question here. Someone wants to know how to create a virtual switch. That's a fantastic question. So here's how you create a virtual switch, right? You go back to tools and then click on preferences. Okay, that's a fantastic question. So go back to tools, go to preferences, and this little page is gonna, the preference page is gonna come up. Then click on a network, right? If you click on network, this is where I want to create the virtual switch. Okay, so right now you can see SW01 is created, but we can add another one. So if I want to, I can just hit that plus button, and then network, it's gonna be created by default. So what you want to do, you want to double click on that. So if we were to double click on that, we can change the name, just call that V switch, right? Something like that, V switch, right? And then you can just give it an IP address. Right? By default, VirtualBox is going to give you this 10.0.2.0. For the most part, you probably don't want that, right? You probably want something like 192.168.1.0/24. Okay. You want to make sure DHCP is supported, right? It's on, and then you click OK. Right? That's how you create a virtual switch. Okay. So once you click OK, then you're good to go. Remember, guys, what we're creating right now, it's what we normally call a NAT network, a network address translation. Right? And if you don't know what that is, again, you are welcome to join one of our boot camp and some of the other training that we have here. But what this means is that VirtualBox, it's going to be acting as your virtual router. So you will be either one of these machines here, it's going to be able to get to the internet. That's what we're doing right now. Okay, but in security, and I'm saying this because of the question that just came up. In security, sometime when you're creating this, you might want to not have anything connected to the internet at all. Okay, and how you go by doing that in VirtualBox, you want to create what we normally call a sandbox. A sandbox. It's just another kind of a virtual switch, but this one, it's a sandbox, right? It's not communicating with anything else. It's not communicating with your physical host. It's not communicating with your Windows machine. It's not communicating with anything else other than what's inside of that sandbox. So how you create a sandbox, you go to Files, then you click on Host Network Manager, and it's gonna bring up this little page that looks like this, Host Network Manager, kind of a settings page. And right now I think I already had one created here. Let me just remove that. All right. It's going to ask me, do you sure want to remove that? Absolutely. All right. So you just click on create. It's going to ask you, hey, you sure you want to create that? You say yes. And you're just going to give it a minute. And now the sandbox is created, right? Which means anything that's connected here, it's not going to communicating with anything else other than what's connected here. Okay, you can also double click on this and then change the IP addresses as well. And also you can double check and make sure DHCP is enabled, DHCP is turned on. And if you don't know what DHCP is, if you don't know IP addresses or what to put it here, then you're welcome to join some of the training that we have here. All right, when I cancel that, I just want to show you that just in case maybe you're doing some kind of a malware analysis and you're using VirtualBox for that kind of stuff, then you don't want that bad program or, that bad program to, interfere with your physical machine, your actual computer. All right, so back to Metasploit. So Metasploitable 2, good to go. So the next thing we need to do here is to make sure that the program we downloaded, it's here, right? So what I want to do is just double click on that, double click on the Metasploitable. Actually, we should right click and go to settings. I'm gonna cancel that again. We're gonna double click on that DC1. Right click, go to settings, right? And once you're here, I want you to go to the storage section, right? And you see where it says Metasploitable, that little kind of a hard drive looking thing, that right there. Okay, I want you to click on that, and going left, you see where it says hard disk, towards the right hand side. There's another folder there, another kind of a hard drive looking icon there. I want you to click on that and then choose or create a virtual disk. Okay, so you click on that, it's gonna open up where you'll be able to choose what we want. So what we want is the VDI, right? So what we want to do is go to the add, and then go back to the C drive where we have Metasploitable installed, right? We have the C drive here in the home lab, ISO, and then Metasploitable 2. And there will be one file here, if I can show you all the files, MVDI, that we want to bring in. Okay, it's not showing up because it's already there here for me, right? But it should show up just so you can just select it and then open it up. Okay, we're going to select that, click next. Let me double check here something. I'm gonna double check here, make sure that I'm not putting in the wrong thing. Yeah, that's it. Perfect. All right, you bring that in, you click OK, and then off you go. That's all you need to do with the Metasploitable. The next thing that you're just gonna do here is to double click on it, and then you're good to go. Now, as far as the DC1 goes, or your Windows server, you have to double click on this, right? And once you double click on it, it's gonna start. And then it's gonna tell you, hey, I am empty, right? I don't have anything to boot from. I don't have like an ISO file for me to read the operating system. So what I want to do is click on that little folder here, right? And then bring in the ISO file that we downloaded earlier. So we're gonna click on add, gonna go back to our kind of a folder here, the home lab folder. Then we want to select this Windows server that we downloaded. Again, you can rename this, but I'm just kind of go with what we have here. So select that, click open, click choose, click on start, and now this is the beginning of all. So this is kind of the process of installing the operating system from scratch. Now, with the other two that we have, with Windows 10 and Windows and the Kali Linux, we're not gonna do this, right? Those two are ready to go. That's why we love OVA files, because they're pretty much ready to go when you're ready. But if you just want to install anything from scratch, specifically with Windows, this is how you will go by doing that. I also encourage people to really do that, because it shows that you can install you can install things from scratch. So we're gonna click next, and then click on install now. Right? Microsoft is just asking us, hey, you agree with what we want to do? We say yes. Now here, this is a very important step within a Windows setup. You want to select the operating system, the version, right? The type of the operating system you want to install. Here we want the desktop experience. We want to select the Windows Server 2019 data center version, the desktop experience. If you select one of these, the core, you're not going to have the GUI. You're not going to have anything to click on. You're just going to have a black screen. And then if you know how to use the command line, it's going to be good to go there. All right, you're going to select the very last one, data center. Going to click on next. We're going to accept the terms, right? You can super read like how I normally do, just super read. Then accept the terms, click next. And this is another important step here. And you want to make sure that you're not upgrading it. You are installing it from scratch. So you want to make sure you select custom. And click on custom, They're gonna ask you, hey, is this the right hard drive? Remember earlier when we were selecting 50 gigabyte? This is it right here. You're gonna say, yes, that is. Gonna click next. And off you go, right? This is gonna take a minute to install, but once it's finished, we're gonna be good to go. All right, so to recap few things, to make sure that we're all on the same page here. So first thing we did, we created a virtual switch, right? We went here, we went to preferences, we went to network, we created that virtual switch, which is this guy right here. And then we assigned this switch, these IP addresses. You probably want to write it down. It was 10.10.10.0/24. Okay, that's the that's the network ID that we're gonna be using. Okay, so that was the first thing that we did. Okay, the next thing we did, we brought in all these different operating systems and we connected them to this switch. Okay, so and how we did that was right click on this, go to settings, then go to network section, and then just select NAT network. And NAT network, and then that switch will be selected automatically. Now that we have a second one is there, you can pick which one you want. But we want SW0, right? 01. I'm gonna click on OK. So that's the second thing that we did. So I just say that so you can remember, the IP address. You want to remember that because we're gonna need that in a minute, and kind of keep up with what we're doing here. All right, let me check this. It's 76%, so we should be good to go in a minute. And let me see the chat here. If anybody have any questions, Mr. Craft, is there any questions that I should answer as I'm waiting for this to finish? All right, looks like there's no questions so far. Good. All right. Guys, so if you have any questions, please do ask. Really want to make sure that we're not confusing anyone. This is very important for you guys to know it. In fact, I often tell students, and now I'm sidetracking a little bit as I'm doing this. I often tell students that, look, if I'm the hiring manager and I want to hire you, and you show up, you tell me that you have a home lab, that's gonna set you apart 100%. I've been into interviews where they ask me, okay, tell me how your home lab looks like. And what they really want to know, they want to know the kind of operating system you have installed. They want to know if you're doing things such as Nmap, Netstat, if you're using Wireshark, if you're doing Nessus, if you're really playing around with the tools that we use in cybersecurity. Okay, so having a home lab, it's really, really critical. That's why here at Cybercraft, we said we want to help people set up their home lab. Okay, and as we get more interest in this topic of setting up a home lab, we will do this on weekly basis or however we decide to do this. But you guys are really gonna drive this, right? Because we want to make sure we help each one of you. And if you want to have that extra help from the instructors or from anyone, join the Discord, right? We are there. We are helping everybody, really. So if you want to share your screen, you want me to look at your home lab, join the Discord. I'll be more than happy to do just that for you. All right. So here, now that Windows Server just went in, install everything. Right? It copied everything from the ISO file into this virtual machine. So the next thing they're gonna ask you is, okay, what's your password for the administrator account? Okay, so what I want to do, we just want to create a very secure password, something simple, quite secure, right? And I'm going to click on finish. So the server is now finished. Now here's the beauty of VirtualBox. It's just going to go ahead and lock it up. Right? You're not going to be able to do anything. So here's how you want to lock this up. Normally on a physical server or a physical machine, you just want to do Control Alt Delete. Right? Literally, they're telling you to do press Control Alt Delete to unlock it. But with the VirtualBox, you want to go to the input, go to keyboard, and there's the insert Control Alt Delete. Right? You click on that, and now it's going to allow you to log in. So I can just go in, just type in the password I just created. And here, the server is just going to take a minute to do its thing. And voila, we are good to go. So by default, it's going to open up Server Manager. Okay, it's going to open up Server Manager. And that's what we want. That's what I wanted because we want to change a few things. So Server Manager, great. We're going to do a lot of stuff here in a bit. But for now, what I want you to do is to change the IP addresses and change the name. I want to make sure that we can change the name, we can change the IP addresses and so on and so forth. So where I want you to do, just click on local server. Then you can see that the computer name is something that nobody will probably remember. So remember, we want to name this DC1. So what I want you to do, just click on the name. Right? And it's going to ask you, hey, you want to change the name? I'm going to say, absolutely, I want to do just that. So we want to give a description, maybe, Windows Server 2019. Right? If my keyboard will work, 2019. And then click on, that's the description. So click on change to actually change the name, right? And then I'm gonna delete that. I'm gonna just call this DC1. That's the name. Again, click OK. They should ask you to restart your operating system. They're gonna ask you, hey, you must restart your computer. And I click OK. You're gonna click apply. Ask you, hey, do you want to restart right now? I'm gonna say nope, restart later, right? Because like I said, I want you to go ahead and change the IP address as well. So this is a server. Another kind of a pro tip thing to know, guys, here is this. So when you're setting up a server such as the server that we have here, we want this server to be a domain controller, which basically means we're going to use this server to authenticate users. We're going to have Windows 7 communicate with it. We're going to join domain. There's a lot of stuff that's coming right now. But when you're doing this, you want to set up what we normally call a static IP address. Early on, you see us within VirtualBox selecting DHCP. And what DHCP does, it gives your computer an IP address automatically, right? So every time you connect a computer to that switch, if DHCP is turned on, that computer will be assigned an IP address. So for me to check, I can literally go to search within my server here. Just go to search, type in CMD. CMD is the command prompt. Okay, CMD or command prompt. And hit enter if my computer will function. CMD. All right, that's not working. Let's right click on here and just go to command prompt. All right, command prompt, where are you? So it's not there. I can use PowerShell, but no, I want you to use command prompt. All right, let's try again. CMD. Okay. Command. Interesting. All right, I mean, you know what? Let's just go to PowerShell. And right click here, just open up PowerShell. It does the same thing. It just, people with more experience, they're the ones that use PowerShell, right? People that are just getting started, they really don't mess around with PowerShell. So I'm gonna go to property, just wanna make this a little bit bigger for every one of you to see. I click OK. Hopefully you guys can see that a little bit better. Now I want to type in the IP config. And IP config, it's gonna give me the IP addresses or the information of this computer that I am connecting. I mean the computer that I'm using right now. Right now, as you can see, the IP address is this, and that's not what we want, right? Looks like the DHCP server might be not working because this is generally known as the IP by IP address, something that you can learn a little bit more about by joining some of the classes that we have. All right, so I want to check one more thing, guys. I want to check one more thing quickly here before I go back. in and change the IP addresses. I'm gonna go back there, just make sure it's connected on the same switch, and it is. So I'm gonna pull up the server back up. I'm gonna right click on the icon there, right, the network icon. You can also search and go to control panel from here, but I just like to just right click on that and open up network and settings. It looks like we don't have a network access. Okay, I'm gonna scroll down a little bit and just click on the network and sharing center. This is gonna open up the network and sharing center. I want you to click on the change adapter settings, and then the Ethernet is gonna come up. I want you to right click on this and then go to properties. Right, when you go to properties, you could have also just double click on that thing. All right, you go to properties, you see different things here. What we care about is the IPv4. If you double click on IPv4, that's where we want to go to change the IP address statically, right? So I'm gonna click on IPv4, and what this thing is telling us is that, okay, look, your computer have obtained an IP address automatically. We don't want that. We want to control this. Remember, guys, this is a server. A server, you don't want the server to change its IP address automatically, right? Or to obtain an IP address automatically. You want to have control over that particular IP address. So what I want to do here is just go to use the following IP address, and let's just give it an IP address here. So remember, earlier we said our network ID is 10.10.10.0, right? So what the IP address is going to be here, it's going to be 10.10.10.10. Right, that 22. That 222, right? Just give it that 222. And if you remember earlier here, we say that the subnet mask or the site notation was /24. If you remember that. So what that means is that the subnet mask here, it's going to be 255.255.255. Again, guys, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're more than welcome to join some of the training we have. All right, so that's the site annotation, that's the subnet mask. Now the default gateway is your router's IP address. This is the IP address that's gonna take us outside of our network. And for the most part, it's just going to be the same network ID with one at the end, right? Specifically with the VirtualBox, it just really take that first IP address, he assigns that to be the default gateway. So this is going to be 10.10.10.1. And as far as DNS goes, we're gonna use Google's DNS. So you're just gonna type in 8.8.8.8, right? If this is a very classic known DNS server that everybody really use, right? So here 8.8.8.8. Once you finish with these numbers, just click on OK. Okay, click OK again. And now, as you can see, they're welcoming us to the network, right? It's like, hey, welcome to the network. And now, if everything is configured correctly, that little yellow icon there should move. And the other thing is that if we go back to PowerShell, gosh, I wish CMD can come up. All right, there we go. This is this is a command prompt. This is what I was looking for earlier. All right, I'm gonna go to property. I'm gonna make that a little bit bigger for you guys to see. All right, so if we go here and type in IP config one more time, you can see that the IP addresses have been changed now. Right, so IPv4, our IP address, this computer's IP address is 10.10.10.222 now. Right, the default gateway is that, the subnet mask, it's obviously 255.255.255. Beautiful, this is exactly what we want. Right, so with the server, I just want to stop there for a minute. Right, the next thing we need to do, just boot this, right, restart the machine, so all the changes that we have put in place can take an effect. So as this thing is restarting, I want you to pull up Kali Linux, and you can right click on it, just go to start, then go to normal start, or you can just select it and just go to start. It does really the same thing, right? And once this one finishes rebooting, I want you to shut it down. It's using resources, and we don't want that. So I want you to just click on that red icon there, just click on power off this machine, and then click OK. Now we shut it down, because now we just want to play around with the rest of the systems we finish with this one. All right, with Kali Linux, remember there's no installation. If you want to install Kali from scratch, again, we can help you with that stuff as well. All right, so with Kali Linux, the username is going to be Kali, and the password is going to be Kali. It used to be Tor and root, but they changed it. All right, Kali, click login, and we should be in. There we go. All right, this is Kali Linux. Now, for those who are not familiar with what Kali Linux is, Kali Linux is a Linux distribution that all the hackers, I shouldn't say probably all, but a lot of hackers use this distribution to hack systems, right? Even some of what we normally call penetration testers, the good guys, right? The good guys that knows how to do bad things, pen testers, these people, they also use Kali Linux, right? And it's really a fantastic OS. All right, here we are. So Kali Linux, we can go to command prompt. We call that terminal within Kali Linux, right? It's not command prompt, it's terminal. So you can click on that kind of a icon there, and then the terminal is going to show up. Within Kali Linux, if you want to check your IP address, you just type in ifconfig instead of ipconfig. So ifconfig for Kali, or you can just type in IP space A, right? And it does the same thing. ifconfig is just the old way of doing this. But with ipconfig, you'll be able to see pretty much everything else. IP is replacing ifconfig. Again, more of that later. All right, so right now we have ETH0, and so far it shows that ETH0 doesn't have an IP address. We don't have an INET for it. INET will be showing us the IP address of this bad boy here. Okay, and the reason for that, I think it might be because the switch is not, it might not be connected to the switch, but there's one way. Let's go ahead and close that. I'm gonna go ahead and close this again, power down the machine. I'm gonna right click on it, go to settings, go to the network, and just double check if it's connected, right? Because it's acting as if it's not connected. I'm gonna click OK again. Right, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this bad boy back on. And now while we're waiting for that to come on, let's go ahead and turn on Windows 10 as well. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this machine on as well. That way we can have both of them running at the same time. Then we're gonna move on to the next section of the lab, where we'll be able to test these, make sure they're working okay, and all that good stuff. All right, I'm gonna put these on two different windows here. I'll make that a little bit bigger. There we go. Now let's sign back in, Kali. All right. Notice that with Windows, we didn't have to reinstall the Windows from scratch. It automatically kind of came online, which is exactly what we wanted. Now here, I want us to check the IP address first, right? So we can go here and type in CMD again, right? And then just type in ipconfig. And then by default, we can see that this one is also not getting an IP address. It still has the automatic, the PIPA IP address. I'm gonna close that. You see this little kind of global looking icon here. It says there's no internet. So I want you to click on that, then open the network and internet settings. Same thing we did with the Windows Server. Here, I want you to scroll down until where you see the network and sharing center. You click on that, you double click on it. It takes you to the same page, same location we were within that server. So here, I want you to click on change adapter settings, right click on Ethernet 2, click on properties again. Again, I'm going a little bit fast because we've done this already. I'm gonna double click on IPv4, and then let's assign an IP address to this manually. So what we're gonna do is going to be 10, right? If my number can work here. So 10.10.10. We just want to call this 10, right? This is Windows 10, so it makes sense to just call it 10. We should call the server 19. All right, anyway, 255 again. And the default gateway is going to be 10.10.10.1, similar to what we had before. The only thing that changes is that. And the DNS here, it's going to be our server's IP address. Okay, and the reason why we're going to do that is because we want this Windows, later on, we want this Windows machine to join what we normally call a domain. We're going to create that in a minute here. So I'm going to, within DNS, I'm going to type in 10.10.10.222. Right? I believe that was the IP address of the server. And I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click OK again. And now here we are. They're telling us, hey, welcome. Perfect. All right. So, welcome. Now, first thing we need to do before we dive deeper, actually, let me go ahead and close this because this seems not. Let me see here. Yeah, it seems not to be coming online without circle cube circling. Try to connect that again. All right, so as we're waiting for that one, I'm gonna shut it down. Can troubleshoot that later. But one thing that I want you to do, now that we have these two machines up and running, they have their own IP addresses and stuff like that. Let's go and turn on the server, and let's just finish the first portion of the lab. Let's just finish configuring the first portion of the lab, which means having these two machines communicate and then create what we normally call a Windows server environment, where we're going to install Active Directory, DNS, and so on and so forth. It's going to be fun. All right, so before I do that, let me make sure I lower down the resources. So I'm going to go here, go to the system. Now, we had an 8 gig. I want to turn that down to 4. All right, processor, I want to turn that down to 2. I don't want my computer to stop working. All right, there we go. Now that we have that, let's turn this bad boy back on. So these two machines going. As we're waiting for this one to come on, we can change Windows 10's name. And the way we go by doing that is right click on the start menu, go to the settings, right? And once you're here, you can just rename this PC. And then you can see that they have a weird name there. We can just call this Win 10. Right, click next. And they're probably gonna ask us to restart the machine. We're gonna just say, hey, no, we're gonna do that later. All right, so now that we have that renamed, I'm gonna close that out. First thing we need to do is to ping these two devices to make sure that they're communicating. Because I mean, what's good of having a network, that's connected on the same switch and all that good stuff, but they're not communicating. So let's go ahead and sign in into the domain controller. I'm gonna sign in. Then I'm gonna open command prompt into both of them. So CMD, I'm gonna CMD here, just go search CMD. I'm gonna do the same thing here, CMD. And here, you wanna type in IP config to just double check the IP address. Again, that's if you don't remember it. And then let's just ping it. Ping is one of those tools that you can learn more about. It's really nice. It's more of just asking the other machine, hey buddy, are you there? And just to make sure that computer is responding back. So 10.10.10.10, right? Because I'm pinging this machine, right? So if I hit enter, and it looks like we're timing out, right? So these two machines are now communicating. So here's kind of another pro tip. For the most part, when your Windows environment is not communicating, it's not because you're doing something wrong. No, by default, Microsoft have taken Windows 10 and they kind of lock it down a little bit. So by default, pings and some of these other commands that people normally use as they're troubleshooting the computers, they don't work. So what we want to do is to either turn off the firewall or allow these machines to communicate. And so like right now, as you can see, they're not talking, although they're connected on the same switch. Even if we go to this Windows and ping the server, I think the server is gonna ping okay. But let's see, 10.10.10.222, and it's doing the same thing, right? So I can do Control C on the keyboard, Control C here, kind of a stop this madness from happening. And what I want to do is go back to the network settings, right? go back to the open network and settings. And we want to go to the same location we were before, right? Network and sharing center. There you go. I was looking for it. And then right here, I want you to click on change advanced settings, right? We're not going back to change advanced settings. We want to go change advanced settings. And then we want to turn on these, right? We want to turn on everything. Network discovery. You just want to turn all these on, right? And this is the server, so you probably might not take it, but we'll see. You're going to turn that on. You're going to turn everything on. Again, you're going from one, you turn everything on. You're going to another one. You're going from your private network, your guest network, your all networks, you turn them on. You do not want to do this in a production environment, right? Hey, this is like turning off your firewall, your Windows firewalls, and you don't want to do that. But if you're, just doing a home lab and you just want to test a few things, you are more than welcome to do just that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. I'm gonna do the same thing on the Windows. So right click on your Windows logo, go to the settings or system, scroll all the way down until where you see, no, long location. I'm gonna click on the network and sharing center again. I'm gonna go to the network and sharing center. I'm gonna click on the change advanced settings, right? And make sure these are turned on, right? Turn on, turned on, turn on. All right, looks like everything is turned on. All right, perfect. Click on save. So again, first thing you want to do is just start. All right, let's go ahead and ping these devices again. Again, you can just use the up or arrow key on your keyboard. Just bring the command that you previously typed. It just bring that back. We hit enter. And now we are live, so we're communicating. As you can see, I'm not sure, this might be a little bit too small. Sure, a little bit bigger. All right, now the computer, they are communicating. So we're pinging this guy. Remember, this guy's IP address is 2222. And he's responding. He's like, hey, look, I am okay. I am live. And you might be like, okay, how do you tell that? Well, you can look at the packets that were sent. Clearly it's telling us, hey, look, I've sent 4 different packets and 4 were received, right? So 4 were sent, 4 were received, and lost equals 0. That means they're communicating. So if you go here and do the same thing, it just ping this Windows machine or 10.10.10.10, hit enter, they are communicating as well, all right? So this is beautiful. This is fantastic. Good news. So the next thing we want to do is to promote this domain, right, to what we normally call, I keep saying a domain, but we haven't created a domain yet. But it's to promote this server here to what we normally call a domain controller. So I'm going to close out these and go back to the server manager. If server manager is not open, some people it might not be open. You just need to go to the start menu and just open up, server manager, right? And here, once server manager comes up, we're gonna install Active Directory. We're gonna install DNS. Again, if you don't know what these are, you are more than welcome to join some of the classes that we have. All right, now server manager is up, and this is where you go to pretty much tell Microsoft, hey, look, I want this server to be this server, right? I want this machine to be this server, because Microsoft has a lot of different roles and features that we can add. So what we want us to do is to change this. Right now, it's just a regular machine. Right now, it's a regular computer. It's not doing anything for us. And so we want to go in and tell this machine, hey, we want you to be able to do the Active Directory stuff. I want you to be able to authenticate a user, allow users to create accounts and all that good stuff. All right, so what I want to do is go to Manage, go to Add Roles and Features. Roles and Features. Then this little wizard is going to come up, right? And what this is, it's Microsoft trying to walk you into the whole process of installing Active Directory. So you're going to click on Next. And pretty much, again, this is pretty much like what we did with the VirtualBox. You just keep clicking Next, right? And I tell you, hey, this is what we see here. Yeah, just say Next. And this is where you need to, pause a little bit, because this is where you want to make that selection. right? So once you go to the server roles, we want this to be an Active Directory domain services server, right? What we normally call ADDS. So you're gonna hear people out there calling this ADDS. When you click on that, Microsoft is gonna ask you, okay, hey, do you want to include some features with this? And I click, yeah, absolutely, yes. Now that's selected. Now here's the thing, because we want to create what we normally call a local domain, well, we need to make sure that DNS is turned on, right? Because if you're going to be joining this machine here, we normally call this a client machine, this Windows 10, if you want this to join this guy, or if you want this to control this guy, we want DNS to be turned on. So we're going to go ahead and create and select DNS server. We're going to ask us the same thing. You want to add some features with this. We're going to click yes. After that, we're going to click next, 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 next. Literally, like just keep clicking next, and then click on install. Right, this is probably going to take like a minute. And let me pause here and just ask, hey, Dennis, is there any questions, anybody that I've lost? Yeah. All right, seems like we are good. That's perfect. No questions so far. All right, here we are. So now it's finished, all right? It's finished. So I'm gonna click on close. Now, what they normally ask is, do you want to promote this server to what we normally just, do we want to deploy it, right? Do you want to promote this server to be a domain controller, hence the name DC, right? Domain controller, which means it's going to be in charge of our local area network or LAN. So we're gonna click on that, and there's a little bit of wizard that's gonna come up as well. And what we wanna do here is create a new forest, right? Add a new forest. And I click on that, just give it a name. In this case, we're just gonna call this cybercraft, right? .com. All right, cybercraft.com is going to be the name. Let me just make this all lowercase. So this is going to be our root domain name. Again, this is not routable, meaning you can't just go to cybercraft to Google, just cybercraft.com. No, it's not gonna work. So this is just used for our local area network, right? For the network that we have created within the VirtualBox, right? It's gonna be used within our environment here. Once we finish creating that, we're gonna click the next. Gonna take a minute, gonna think about it. I go, oh yeah, that sounds good. So here it's gonna ask us, okay, you wanna create the password for this, just in case if you do forget. Gonna go ahead and create the password. And I click next. And so I say, you sure you wanna keep going? We say absolutely yes, we wanna keep going. It's really straightforward. Microsoft have really tried to make a lot easier for us to do this. So the net bios kind of tells, hey, the name is Cybercraft. Like, absolutely, that's fantastic. Let's do it. Gonna click next. Next. Next one more time. We'll just literally keep clicking next and next. All right, so this is kind of a pre-checking the prerequisites, and once it's finished with that, it's gonna tell us, you ready to install? Yes. All right, click on install. And I'm just gonna give it a minute and just let it install. All right, as it's doing, I am just grabbing something. I'll be back. All right, here we are. We're back. All right, let's make sure the screen is being shared again. Cybercraft, can you confirm that you can see my screen okay? Yeah, I think we're good. Good to go. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and finalize this. We're coming up at top of the hour. So DC1 is up and running. We got Windows 7 waiting for us. So the thing about Microsoft, once you finish promoting your domain to what we normally call like a Windows domain, it's going to take a minute and just gonna reboot and apply the changes and all that good stuff. Okay, so it's doing the same, exactly just that right now. So that is taking place right now. Let's wait for it to finish. As it's finishing up, let me change this. Just change that to reach, maybe. All right, I'll get back to it. All right. Oops, still loading. So it's gonna apply all the computer settings, everything that we just configure, which was quite a few. And once it's finished, we should be able to do some of the next steps, which means joining this computer to a domain and so on and so forth. Now, as far as Linux, right, Kali Linux and Metasploitable goes, these two are up and running. They're good to go. Right? All we need to do is actually they're already connected to a switch. There's nothing special that we need to configure with these guys. All we need to do is on the upcoming, live sessions, we're just gonna, spin one of these up and start not really hacking, more like scanning systems, and start teaching you some of the skills that goes with your Security Plus or your CISA Plus trainings, or any one of the training that you're probably are doing. Okay. But what most people really get confused with, it's the domain controller. And that's why we want to take some time to do just that, because once this is up and running, we will be able to pretty much treat this as a really kind of a corporate environment. Because what we're doing right now is what companies have in place. Companies will have what they normally call like an authentication server. Well, that authentication server might be an Active Directory server. Similar thing that we just did right now. That authentication server, it's going to be able to authenticate all their, employees and stuff. And they will have different clients, Windows 10, 7, 8, connected to that authentication server. So when people comes to work, they, open up their laptop, they're connected to the corporate network. Same thing with what we have here. Okay, they log in. Same thing with what we just what I'm about to show you right now. Okay, so knowing how to do Active Directory is really valuable. It's a really good skill set for you to have, because let's face it, 90%, if no more, of all corporate network is Active Directory based. Like everybody's running some kind of an Active Directory, some kind of a Microsoft software of some sort. Right? And it just, it only makes sense for you to learn Active Directory, for you to learn this right now. Okay? Because it really doesn't matter in cybersecurity where you end up, right? Some people will be like, okay, I'm a penetration tester, right? So I just love to hack systems. Guess what system you're going to be hacking? Active Directory environments, right? So when they hire you, hey, hack our company or just do some kind of a pen test for our company, you're going to be doing that on some kind of an Active Directory environment. So you can't hack something you don't know. That's what I normally tell students is that you can't secure what you don't understand. Really, what that means is that you gotta have some basic knowledge of networking, some basic knowledge of computers, all that stuff before you can really understand much of cybersecurity. Okay, and as you have seen, you've seen us through some of the settings here. We just fly through them. Pinging, configuring IP addresses, and so on and so forth, subnet mask, and all the other stuff. Some people, especially if you're just getting started, all that stuff is confusing, right? And so you want to make sure you understand all that stuff first before you dive deep. Okay. You also have people that says, "Hey, I'm a blue teamer," right? Red and blue teams. I'm a blue teamer. I just want to defend networks, right? And that's great. We need more of a blue teamer. So you want to do that. Guess what kind of a networks you're going to be defending? Active Directory environments. So you want to really learn how to play around with Active Directory. Make sure everything's working okay. Or make sure you know that skill, really. All right, there you go. We're back up. I'm going to go to Input Keyboard, go to Insert Control Alt Delete. And then, there you go. Voila. Now we have cybercraft as our domain. And this is exactly what we want. So I'm going to log in. Right? I'm gonna log in. Nothing really have changed, no magic and nothing at all, other than now our domain, which happens to be DC1, now is acting as our Active Directory domain controller. You're like, okay, what the hell does that mean? What that means, we can control Windows machines. Right? If these Windows machines were connected to this domain controller, this domain controller will be able to give this machine instructions. You'll be able to tell this machine, hey, look, I want you to change your background, right? And I don't want anybody to change that. This will be able to give this guy that instruction. Okay, we call that group policy, right? Or GPO. And that's something that we can configure. I mean, you can configure that locally here as well, but having a centralized location where you'll be able to configure those things, it really helps. All right, here, as we can see, we have DNS and ADDS, or Active Directory Domain Services, ready to roll. So one thing that I want us to do here quickly is to just go ahead and go to the Active Directory and just create it like a user, like a simple user, create an organization unit, and then go ahead and join this computer to the domain. So we're going to go ahead and click on Tools and click on Active Directory Users and Computers. Okay, that's going to take you to one of the most popular places that a lot of people use when they're using Active Directory environment. We're going to expand the cybercraft domain that we created. And as you can see, we have some built-in, we have computers, we have domain controller stuff, we have a couple other things. But what we care about the most is the user section. If you click on the user, you'll see that by default, Microsoft do create different users. Like you have domain admins, you have users, and you have groups, right? The one with the two little icons, these are groups, right? Groups that you can add user into. I'm going to show you all that in a minute here, right? So what I want to do, first of all, within a bigger companies, they're going to have different department, right? They're going to have sales department, marketing department, they're going to have IT. How do they organize that, right? How do they have all their computers, all the users within that department just to stay with that department? What they do, they create an organization unit. Right? So you can right click on users, go to new. Actually, let me go ahead and create those from cybercraft. So you can right click on cybercraft, right? The actual domain, and then go to new, and then just click on organization unit, right? And let's just call this sales. Right, like the sales department. This is just a folder, right? Organization unit, it's just a fancy name of saying a folder, really. That's gonna help you to organize a few things. I can click on that again, create few, right? Go back in there, just create IT. I can also create security. And so once you finish with that, we want to create a user so we can be able to log into this Windows machine with that user that we have created. By the way, that's the last thing that I will want to show you guys is how we connect this to the domain and then log in as that particular user. So once we're here, we want to click on the user, click on the user, go to new again, and you'll see where it says user. Guys, remember, this is a robust. Microsoft has certifications literally dedicated just for this, right? Just for you to learn Active Directory and everything that we're talking about here. But you really don't want to, you don't want all that knowledge really for you to be a great cybersecurity professional. What you want to know, you just want to know the basics. You want to know your way around it, which is what we are showing you right now. So click on a new, go to users. I'm gonna, give it a name, right? This particular one, we're just gonna call this guy my name, right? Francois. Thanos. Right? As far as the user, just say his name is Francois, the username, right? The login at cybercraft. And click on next. And this is the little security of this, right? So they ask you, okay, do you want the users to change the password? Right? We can just say, hey, user never changed the password, or the password will never expire. It's really up to us. We are in control of this. So type in the password there, click next, right? Click finish. And now we have that user here created. So let's say that by default, this guy, he's just a regular user, right? This user just created. So what if we want him to be the administrator? Right? What if we want him to be part of some kind of a group that have some sort of a privileges? Well, we can double click on this, and then it's going to open up the properties of that particular user. And one of the things that we see here is it's a member of. If you click on the member of, you see that this user is of domains, right? Just regular domains, domain users. So we can add administrator here. So you can just click on add, just go here and just search for admin, right? And you can just click on check names, and the administrator is going to come up. And click OK. Now admins is added. And then you can just click on apply, click OK. Then now this guy, this Francois user, has now access to the administrator group. Okay. Same thing here. So we can literally go ahead and create sales group. I can create a group here. Just call it sales team, right? And then you can just give it this group like a domain label where they have access to pretty much everything. We can just, I say everything, I meant to say like everything within our domain, right? Like the cybercraft domain. Or we can make a universal where they pretty much, control of everything. In this case, let's just keep it global. Click OK. Now we have the sales team. So we can literally double click on that, then we can add the member here. So let's say that Francois is part of the sales team. You can just add him here. Just search for his name, click OK. He's gonna come up. Click OK, and now there he is. I can apply, click OK. Now Francois has access to everything that's part of that the sales team have access to. Again, we can literally do so much with the Active Directory, but that's the little bit I wanted to show you guys here. I'm gonna close that and do the last thing that I wanna do for today, and that is joining this computer to a domain. That's very critical for everyone to know. So what I want to do as far as joining the computer to a domain is, first of all, I want to, let me just ping it one more time, make sure that this computer are communicating still. That was 10.10.10.222. All right, yeah, it's still communicating okay, right? I'm getting some replies back. Perfect. So what I want to do is right click on the Windows 7, go to Systems, scroll all the way down until where I can see, one of these settings really. I just go to Advanced and go back to the computer name, right? Go where it says, click on where it says change. And this, it's gonna bring up where we will be able to join this Windows 10 to be a member of some kind of a domain. Now we've already created the domain, if you remember. We called that cybercraft.com. So here we're just gonna click on, and this will let me, no, it's not gonna let me do that because I need to restart the machine. Look at that. So it's going to do that right quickly. Let's restart this machine. It should be fairly quickly. Okay. All right, here we are. It's coming up. a user. All right, here we are. So right click on the start menu, go back to the systems and scroll all the way down, then click on advanced settings one more time. Let's go back to computer name. Let's go back to change settings. And now we're able to join this computer to a domain, okay? So what we're gonna do here is literally just go there and just type in here cybercraft. Right? You can put in .com or not. It really doesn't matter sometimes. The cybercraft, we hit OK. And now they're asking me, okay, we want to make sure you are who you're saying you are, right? This is going to require administrator privileges for that to work. I'm going to type in administrator. Keep in mind, I can also use the account that I created from this domain here. That's what they're asking me right now. You want to join that domain? We need the credentials. So administrator, and type in the password, and I click OK, or hit enter on your keyboard. All right, let's give it a minute. It's thinking. This is the section where it goes in, it's literally communicating with this guy. It's asking this guy, hey man, I just want to be part of your domain, right? Can you let me in? And voila, right? So the computer was able to say, hey, yeah, you're welcome, come on in, right? Now they're saying, welcome to the cybercraft domain, right? I'm gonna click OK. You're gonna tell, hey, you must restart the system one more time. I click, absolutely, that's okay, I can restart the system. So once the Windows 10 comes back up, we're going to try to log in as the user we just recently created. All right, let's see if that works. If that works, that means we are good to go. Okay. So let's bring this back up. All right, so Windows 10 is back up. And now you can see where we have the section that says others, right? Other than user, we have the others. And here, if you look a little bit closely, you can see where we have signed in to cybercraft. That means every time you see this on your local machine or your your client machine, that means this computer is it's a power of some kind of a domain. All right, so here we can just type in Francois. That was the domain, I believe, and the strong password that we created. Hit enter, and voila, welcome, Francois. So some people really, get this confused, right? You go to work and then you can log in into any computer at work. You're like, okay, oh, this is magic, or what they did. They did exactly the same thing we just did. Yeah, we just did it from scratch. So if you were following along now, if you get hired for, let's say, a system administrator type of a position, you can literally talk to them, tell them what you did, how you were able to create a user, you're able to create an organization unit, you're able to authenticate it from the client machine to the domain and all that stuff. And they will be impressed with that kind of stuff, right? Especially once you tell them, hey, I started the operating system from scratch, I installed it, I was able to go through the whole process. Because not a lot of people really do that. When you get hired, they already have the system is in place and you're just using them. But in this case, you've done everything from scratch and now you are good to go. All right, so that's what I want to post. I think we are up at the top of the hour here. I'll just pause here, just ask Mr. Croft if there's any questions that's in Discord or YouTube or anywhere we're streaming from. If not, I'm going to welcome him to say a few things about some of the training that we have here at Cybercraft. Welcome, Dennis.
Hey, thanks a lot, Francois. Great job today. Really appreciate it. Fantastic demonstration. I just want to share a few things, a few announcements with everyone. I'm going to post some links into the chat here. And these are links to our upcoming boot camps. We're offering boot camps for all these certifications: Certified Cloud Security Professional, CISA Plus with CompTIA, Security Plus. We're doing CISSP coming up. and Certified Information Security Manager. We're doing all these boot camps coming up over the summer and throughout the fall, and you should expect to see more links, more announcements about that. If you want to find a list of all these boot camps, you can check out this link right here, cybercrafttraining.com/bootcamps. And we're offering a special for community members. You should have seen some emails about that, but if you want to message within the Discord server, we're offering $400 off for community members. Limited time only. That coupon is only good until the 1st of June. And we have, these boot camps are filling up quick, so if you want to get your slot reserved, now's the time to do it. Otherwise, I really want to thank Francois for doing this great presentation, and thank everyone for joining. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your participation. Really appreciate it. You guys, the community, you guys are the heart of cybercraft, so thank you so much. I'll hand it back over to you, Francois.
I don't see any questions coming in. I don't see any from YouTube. I don't see any from the cybercraft chat section. So we're gonna go ahead and end this today's live home building live section that we're doing. But I just want to let everybody know this, guys. Look, if you need help with building your home lab, right? We're here. So get into Discord, ask me, Dennis, or any one of our team members anything really about building a home lab, and we will help you. By the way, we're looking at keep doing this continuously as a way of giving back to the community. So if you just want to, hang out with us every Friday around the same time, we're going to be doing this. And like I said before, if you come to Discord and participate live, we'll be able to help you. We will have you share your screen. That way we can, troubleshoot your problems live. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming. And that's it for today. Thank you.